Welcome back, everyone. After a week of doing our podcast on Minecraft, we have returned to where we belong, and that is on the internet doing a proper podcast. I'm, of course, your host, Superhero Deuce of the Mad Nerds Podcast, episode 16, Left Shark. Here, as always, with my esteemed co-host, Mike is the Hat.
Yes. Mike is the Hat all over the internet. Twitter, yes. Twitch, YouTube.
Yes, particularly check out Twitch. Both of our Twitch channels are going to have a ton of stuff on it, especially after we record this. We're actually going to be streaming some Destiny tonight, doing Vault of Glass on hard. It's going to be great. So just make sure to check our Twitch streams for that, because obviously by the time this is up on YouTube, that will have already happened. But Mike, we have a lot to get to this week. Last week was a light week, and then it just made up for it this week. Gotham, man, it was there. There was some things happening, some things that I wish weren't, and some that I was rather pleased by.
Yeah, Gotham definitely hit a lot of stuff for me. I thought it was good. For me this week, I enjoyed it a lot more than I did the previous week.
Yeah, man, let's just get right to it. The Scarecrow, these next two episodes are really going to involve him. Of course, we have another kind of relapse of Gotham's thing for, this isn't the villain, it's their dad. You know, we had that with Black Mask, and now we're getting that with Scarecrow, too, and Dr. Crane.
I wouldn't call the Black Mask his father, since it was supposed to be him, but this Dr. Crane thing is definitely the precursor father thing, but I like it because it gives Scarecrow kind of like a fresh story. You don't have to worry about the, just random, all of a sudden this doctor, university professor is a psychopath. Like, now we see he's getting it from his father with this crazy stuff where he tries to kill the people in their most, at the height of their fear. So he tries to figure out what their fears are by going to the support group for the, phobics, as the one girl was calling it.
Yes.
And he said all this stuff, he's listening, and then he would kill the people that way, like hanging them from the building at the beginning, or trying to drown the woman. What was the other guy that he killed? Oh,
the guy with the pigs who survived.
Yeah, they tried to kill the guy with the pigs, and he saved Jim Gordon, and Harvey Bullock saved him. So we had that, which was cool. And then, you got to see Jonathan Crane, too. Like, hey, he was like, Jonathan, please go wait in the car. That was kind of weird. But he was extracting, their adrenal glands, Dr. Tompkins was telling us.
Yes.
It was at the height of when they were, so that he could use the serum, I guess, to... Basically, it was to start to see how the fear toxin that Scarecrow uses was created, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, I liked that. Like you said, they had the son come in, Jonathan, just kind of it was legitimately for no reason at all, other than to kind of draw the lines for people and, to make an appearance, and obviously to, like you said, kind of flesh out his story, which I liked. It's just kind of another one of those weird little things. The story part that I was not a fan of is I really didn't need to know that Fish Mooney was on a boat. I don't care where she is. I would have much rather had it that she just kind of reappears at some point. Like, if you're going to reintroduce her, just let her go away. But I understand there's probably contractual obligations and some odd story writing, like, the boat's been invaded by pirates now. So that was the one part for me that I really just could have done without. But the part that I really liked was this whole Penguin and Don Maroney storyline and the kind of mob side that was going on, particularly just with them two. I thought those scenes were very strong.
Yeah, where he found out Fish rats out Penguin, which if you know storytelling at all, you kind of knew was going to come when they figured out that Fish didn't actually die. The way that Maroney went about it, though, was so gangster. It was amazing.
Yeah, I love that. I thought that was one of the best things. I actually believed that. It's like, okay, I'm going to take you up to a cabin and with a gun, and I'm going to test you. Like, that just showed where Penguin's not quite at that Don level yet, where he's fully ready to be responsible for things because he got outsmarted. He saw him load the gun, and he thought, okay, this gun must have bullets in it. Well, guess what, dude? It didn't. It had blanks. And your buddy did not die, so he's going to crush you in a car. That
was great. And then, maybe I'll send it to to Don Falcone and he'll make a table out of it or something.
Yeah, I thought that was fantastic. I really enjoyed those scenes in particular. I thought were some of the best. But let's get back to, of course, the central character for all of this poor confused man that is Jim Gordon. Investigating the Scarecrow. Bullock actually was the one doing a lot of the good detective work this time, and I thought that was a good little twist for him in this series, where he's always been the lazy one.
But it ties into what we learned at the beginning of the season, where he's into the women. Like, remember he'd bring like the hookers and stuff around?
Yes.
Or just go out and try and pick up somebody. He got involved because he thought the redheaded woman, whose name escapes me, I don't even think they have it in the title or in the little product description here that I'm reading. But
yeah, thankfully they did. Her name
intrigued by her.
Her name was Scotty.
Wow.
Scotty Mullen.
Well, he was intrigued by her. He thought she was attractive, so he tried to follow her around, kind of. But he also put two and two together that all these people were getting abducted from this group, and she was the leader, so he wanted to go see for himself.
Yeah, and you know what? I thought that was good. I mean, ultimately it had weird motives, but at the same time, it is good detective work. He was very on point, and we got to see that, yeah, he is afraid of things. The dude is afraid of dying. No wonder he doesn't like going into combat. Like, when you've seen a whole bunch of people get shot and killed your whole life, you can understand, yeah, this might be a little bit of a fear of mine. And, going, kind of following along, we're going to follow Jim Gordon's trail, since we're kind of just hitting on all the main points here. So we saw him, he had an interaction with Selena Kyle, and once again, kind of important, because it just drove the Bruce storyline on a little bit more, and we saw in the preview for next week, of course, that's going to get taken a little bit further with Bruce Wayne going and falling into a pit. I don't know if it's the Lazarus pit, I hope not.
That's going to go into like the Batman Begins thing, where he falls into the hole on Wayne Manor's property as a kid and runs into the Batcave.
Yeah.
That's where I think that's going to go, straight to the Batcave, which is great. But the Selena Kyle thing, we get to see again, I lied. And then, Jim goes and talks to Bruce, and that's where we kind of get the sense that Bruce is starting to, like, try to do things on his own, get into more of that Batman mode, even though he's, like, 13.
Yeah. And once again, I think that works for the story, because it was almost like they were telling the fans, hey, we're going to put this on hold. It's okay. There was a few things like that where I felt this episode was very meta. One of those things in particular was going later on in the episode when Gordon sits down with the doctor, Leslie Tompkins, and, she thought it was a date, and he brought the case file. And she said, it's very tough to read you, Jim. And I'm like, this show is very tough to read sometimes. The tone of this show was all over the place again. There were some parts that were really funny, and there were others that were very serious. And I was almost having trouble kind of keeping up with it, because you'd have a scene that was just totally, like, funny with, the Riddler getting medical examiner fired with all the body parts in his locker. And I'm like, okay, that's pretty funny. But then you had a really very serious scene after that with Bullock at the support group and things like that. And I'm just like, this is so weird tonally, because I feel creeped out, and then I want to laugh, and then sometimes I'm laughing when I probably shouldn't be.
Yeah. I like the Enigma pieces here, the Riddler pieces, where we got to see him, kind of be upset, and he was like, oh, I'm going to get suspended, and his little thing with Kris Kringle, and then just how cynical he is by getting the body parts to get the medical examiner fired, which leads to Tompkins now possibly getting a job at GCPD as their medical examiner.
Yeah, let's talk about Enigma here for a minute. We can his character has slowly been fleshed out, as annoying as it's been at times. We see that he does have the potential to be evil when he needs to be, as he obviously got this guy fired. And because he just doesn't follow orders. He knows he shouldn't do something, but he does it anyway. Yes, he's very good at his job. I mean, heck, Jim Gordon wanted him to be he wanted him to examine the body, because he actually gets results. Like, valid point. You have this whole thing with Miss Kringle, who you can tell she's kind of okay with him being around, but there's also this weird tension between them that I feel like she's going to be the one that sets him off, which is that kind of stupid, that a woman's going to be at the center of this? Yeah, absolutely. But at the same time, we also did see in the preview for next episode, guess what? Penguin and him are going to have a little bit of an interaction, which, I'm not as familiar with Batman's comics as you are, Mike, but I know that in a lot of the TV series I've watched, it seems like the Penguin and the Riddler always seem to be in cohorts with one another.
Yeah, a lot of things. The Riddler just kind of gets in where he can, fit in. I guess you could say wherever the money is. I mean, if you look at the Batman games, he's kind of doing his own thing. But in the books and the previous movies and the old Adam West series, it was always he teamed up with other villains. But he is what it is. I want to see where they're going to go with that. I wanted to bring that up as well. That was such a great, like, they're face to face, like it looks like they're going to fight.
Yeah, you're really not sure what's going on in that scene. Hopefully, once again, it seems like every scene that Nigma has been in, the Riddler, has been very kind of funny and quirky, because he's a quirky character, but I would love to see him in a serious scene at some point, other than the ones where he's getting bullied by someone like Flash. And we're seeing a lot of the fallout of that with Mr. Gordon, and kind of his image, and how the GCPD is viewing him because he kissed Tompkins. Just a lot of stuff happened this episode. It was overall pretty solid. Like I said, though, there were some times where I think they could have written the show a little bit more fluidly and not had so much just jumping from serious to humor, from quirky to like very dark. I think that would be one step that I think the show is slowly taking now that they're kind of getting rid of some of their characters. Like, obviously, there's no need for Selena Kyle to show up at any time soon. Like, I think that's pretty well known at this point. I mean, I don't know about child labor laws or anything like that, but if she disappeared for a while, I'd be okay with that. Same thing with Fish Mooney. Like, I'm sick of the Fish Mooney stuff. Give me something concrete and we'll be there. She was very good as a tool to get the Maroni and Penguin stuff going, but other than that, I'm okay with her just getting eaten by the pirates or something.
Yeah, I hated the way the episode ended. That whole thing with
it was just a weird ending, pirate,
or like the mercenary, whatever we want to call it, where they just kind of looked at each other and like,
and then they did the whole clash thing where they run at each other.
It's dumb, but it is what it is. What are you gonna do?
Yeah. So speaking of things, what we're gonna do, Mike? We always rate the episodes. So what are you gonna give this one?
It was very average. Like there's a lot of funny and then a lot of serious. It was up and down, a roller coaster, if you will. But I'll give it a 7. I thought it was very average. There were a lot of good pieces, but there were also a lot of very pieces. So I would say a 7 out of 10.
Yeah, it's almost as if this one was setting the scene for next week, because next week's looks really good, because we are going to see young Jonathan Crane, and he's going to have a big part in this at some point. So I would like that, and I would be totally okay with that if that ends up being as strong as it looks like it's going to be. Of course, we've referenced next week's episode several times already, so it goes to show, hey, we're excited about it. And it's just, by the time this goes up on YouTube, it'll be just a couple days away or a day away at that point. So awesome. I'm going to give it probably about a 6.5, because I wasn't as strong on it, mostly because, like I said, I think it can do better. And I'm going to continue to stay around that 6.6, 6.5, 7 range until it does show me something better. Now, just a couple things, Mike, before we move on from Gotham. The showrunners have confirmed that the Joker is at some point going to be introduced, as you would expect. Now, I wanted to get your thoughts on this. Like, how do you feel the Joker is even going to fit into this universe that they've built?
Looking through like the Wikipedia page and stuff and trying to find some rumors, it says that episode 17 is going to be titled Red Hood.
Okay, well, there we go. And
that would be where they could get the Joker to come in. Obviously, Joker's origin stories and some of his origin stories, like 16 million different things. If you're reading Batman Endgame, you know that he has a crazy origin story as well in that storyline in the comics. But obviously, he was a standout. In this one, and this is where I think they're going, and this kind of ties in with I think a couple of the animated features that they did on Red Hood and the Batman the Animated Series and stuff like that. Red Hood is the Joker because he was a failing comic in one of the mafia comedy clubs, much like Fish Mooney's place.
Yes, like the first episode where we saw that guy, then we weren't sure what was going on there.
Yeah, so, and then he needs to make a little bit of money because him and his girlfriend or wife or whatever are struggling. They dress him up in his costume with a red hood and a cape and a suit, and then he goes and tries to rob the chemicals plant, because they know, hey, they keep a lot of money in the safe there, and that's when he falls in the vat, and that's when he turns into the Joker. If they go that way, I'm okay with it. If they don't, that's fine too, because like I said, the Batman Endgame storyline has the Joker dating back through all of these tragedies that have happened in Gotham City, going back to like the early, before Batman was even born, like the 1800s and stuff.
Oh wow, yeah. So clearly a lot going on there. I think it's the immortality thing. I've been hearing about that, but we'll talk about that in the comics section should it come up. So that's good. Thank you for the insight there, Mike. And then the other thing I wanted to kind of just get your opinion on is, we know Penguin's getting a nightclub, has a nightclub. He's got the one with Falcone now. Do you see this eventually becoming the Iceberg Lounge, or do you think that this is just kind of setting the stage for, hey, Cobblepot can run some clubs, and eventually he's going to get his own that is going to be the Iceberg Lounge, or do you think that they'll even go there on this show with the Iceberg Lounge?
Well, that's the first thing that I thought when he went and kind of took over Fish's place. I thought he would turn it into something like that, the Iceberg Lounge. Obviously, they're not going to call it Fish's or whatever it was called, where they had a big fish on the wall. You know what I mean? It's going to move towards something that's his. If it is his, like he claims it is, then it's going to move towards something that, would represent him. And if they call him the Penguin, I would imagine it would wind up turning into the Penguin's Ice House Lounge that we know from his history in the comic books, as well as the Arkham series of video games.
Yeah, absolutely. So that would be something that I would be okay if they went there. They've done so many stupid in-your-face things. If they could just name it, the Iceberg Lounge, the Ice House Lounge, whatever, can't remember its exact title.
It's the Iceberg Lounge. I keep saying Ice House Lounge.
Okay.
Because I pass by the one in Vegas that says Ice House Lounge every day on my way to work, so...
No, I normally defer to you on that, but I understand the confusion. So, all right, enough of Gotham. We're going to get to Agent Carter, and my goodness, this show just continues to rock on every possible level. We got Dum Dum this week. We got Black Widow origin connections. We got Russian stuff. Oh, man, it's just all good.
We had people getting shot. There was fighting. There was Chad Michael Murray breaking down and almost crying. You know what? I was realizing this too. Chad Michael Murray's character's name is so forgettable that I referred to him by his real name.
Yeah.
That, the only people you need to know are Peggy Carter and Sousa.
Yeah, I think his name is Thompson, if I'm not mistaken. And I remember Chief Dooley because he's got just such a weird name. And we all remember Krasinski because, well, who would forget Krasinski? So we got, this was episode 5, I believe. That was the Iron Ceiling. And so, Mike, just kind of, what were your thoughts on this? I mean, obviously we were pumped about this going into last week. Did this episode meet your expectations from what everything was teased?
Yes. It met my expectations from what we thought it was going to be, 3 weeks ago when we thought the Howling Commandos were going to show up the first time.
Yes.
And then we finally got it, and what an episode. We got more on Dottie. We got a lot of stuff with the Howling Commandos. We got, what's his name? What is it? Where is his name? Thompson. It is Thompson.
Yes, Jack Thompson.
We got his background story a little bit.
We also had Sousa discovering that Peggy Carter is the woman in the photo, but he doesn't know what to do. He's torn.
Yes, that's... that, if you were to compare the two, which we don't really like to do on this show, but the ending of Gotham this week to the ending of Agent Carter, what a difference the ending of the episode makes. I thought the Gotham ending, like I said, was kind of weak and stupid. The ending to Agent Carter was so, it did so much more. It started to open up a lot more questions, whereas the ending of Gotham, you're just like, oh, what the hell is this thing with Fish Mooney now?
Yeah, it's I don't care. Yeah, you need to end on a good note. But let's just go back through some of the major things. The scenes with the girls fighting, man, at the beginning set such a tone for the entire episode. I was like, this is Marvel? This is so dark.
I was like, okay, they're going to fight. The one little girl is going to get the other little girl in, some sort of hold where she's going to murder her, and then, their handler was just going to be like, okay, and that's it.
Or they'll cut away and you'll never know what happened, TV stuff.
But she just gave you that gangster nod, and then it was over. And she just, like, I felt even worse. I was like, they were friends, yo. Like, they shared bread together.
Yeah, and it went to show how ruthless Dottie's upbringing was, and the fact that we did see at the end of the episode, like you said, some of the strengths of this was the ending. She still handcuffs herself to the bed to go to sleep, simply out of habit. It's like, oh my gosh. And to think, like, Black Widow went through this. This is totally Black Widow's origins right here. Obviously, she's way too young to be involved right now, but this is what she went through. So this is fleshing out Black Widow's character without even having her appear, and just kind of understanding how she's had it so rough to then be working for S.H.I.E.L.D. after this. I mean, oh my goodness. And like you said, Dottie, she was so strong this episode. She didn't really interact with that many people. I mean, we saw her steal Peggy's keys very stealthily and break in and take, you know, some of the pictures of Howard Stark's stuff, and I was like, oh, please don't take Captain America's blood.
Yeah. Then she sat in the mirror, which was really creepy, and started impersonating Agent Carter's voice and stuff.
Yeah, oh man, there's got to be more to that. I'm guessing there's going to be some phone calls or something. We've already been told that Howard Stark is coming back for the season, or for, you know, the finale of this little mini-series that they're having. So, man, Dottie just continues to be great. But then this whole storyline with, okay, we're going to send Carter on this mission just because, you know, because she decrypted the Russian code. That whole thing was so funny, where they said, you know, if you can get the 107th, or I believe that's what their number is, the 107th, you know, on the phone, I'll be happy to send you. But since we all know that's not going to happen, she just calmly walks out, picks up the phone, and says, they'll meet us on, you know, whatever it is, the Polish side. Yeah, the Polish side of Russia, because that would make the most sense, right? I'm just like, oh, this is so good. Like, they find little ways to show that she is so apt at her job without throwing it in your face. Hey, women can do big things.
Yeah, and especially, like, it was cool to see her and Thompson kind of, like, Thompson realized that she was way more BA than he is.
Exactly,
you know,
exactly. Especially, I loved that first scene with the Howling Commandos, how they just greeted her, and they're kind of like, well, who's this guy, you know? And then he gave the order about how they were going to attack the compound area, I guess that's what I'm going to call it, where the girls were held, and where they were trying to get, where they ended up having the scientist and the psychologist, who, hopefully the psychiatrist doesn't come back to be like a mole, because I would hate that. It's like, you saved him, you were noble, and then he's a traitor? Like, that would suck. But staying on task, where he gave the order, and then they said, what do you think, Carter? Like, they just totally went around him and basically said, man, you're cool, but we listen to her more than you.
Peggy knows what she's doing. We don't know who you are, so we're just going to defer to Peggy.
Yep, and her scenes with Dum Dum Dugan were really good, too, when he was talking about, of course, bourbon, but more specifically, how he's like, yeah, you know what, you used to be fun, and I miss Captain America, too.
Yeah, that was one of the hit me in the feels scenes, you know?
Yeah, because Dum Dum is, of course, a very non-serious character. He's always been a humorous character. Comic books, movies, animated series, you name it, he's just been the funny guy. Like, he bursts through the wall and yells, "Wahoo!" which of course is great, and just starts shooting everybody. But they had a good dynamic in this episode too. And you know, the last part, Mike, I have kind of a speculation when we heard the doctor kind of rambling on, the guy, or the scientist, not the doctor, rambling on about how with Stark's inventions and how they were stolen. Stark has never been actually seen. He's probably not even involved. And I'm just sitting here like, if you think back to Iron Man 2, you know, Ivan Vanko's father was Anton Vanko, who we saw in the first episode of this series. He was deported for allegedly being a Russian spy. And I'm like, I think that this is where he gets deported. How else would Leviathan get those blueprints? Yeah,
I'm thinking that that's what's going to happen as we start to wrap this up. Now we're getting into the last 3 episodes. We saw the stuff now in the preview where Sousa kind of, I guess, would have exposed Peggy at this point as being a double agent, and now she's trying to work to vindicate her name. I think that's what's going to wind up happening, is they're going to find out that Anton is the dad.
Yep, Anton Vanko.
Anton Vanko is the one that actually leaked some of this stuff. Or, you know, they're going to accuse him of leaking it because obviously he's a Russian. And then we have Leviathan
Yeah,
And,
we haven't really seen him since, so this would be a great callback to anybody. It's like Anton Vanko, yeah, the guy from the first episode that seemed like he really wanted to help Peggy and Jarvis.
Yeah, we had that one little scene with Peggy and Jarvis as well, where he was like, I don't know if I could tell you. Well, look, and then she tells you're stealing Captain America's blood. See, it's easy. I just told you.
They just continue to be money. Their dynamic is fantastic, and just looking ahead, I'm really anxious for the Dottie Peggy encounter because we know it's going to happen. We know it's coming. That's going to be a really great fight. I'm looking forward to just getting to the bottom of that, and the Russians and the Americans and just that whole entire time period in a nutshell coming to life in this show, and it's been absolutely fantastic. I'm continuing to just love every second of this, and it's getting rave reviews online. It's getting rave reviews. The ratings may not be, super amazing or super, whatever you're calling it, but people might not be watching it live. But the show has gotten such strong reviews on the internet that I would be shocked if it didn't get a second miniseries next year at the same time to give S.H.I.E.L.D. another break.
Yeah, they'd have to look at what else they could do with it. If they do wrap up that Anton Vanko thing and tie it into, the Iron Man movies as well as whatever, great. Maybe they could get a little bit of Bucky in there if they wanted to do a second season, but...
Yeah, Sebastian Stan used to do a lot of TV. I think he might actually still be doing a lot of TV. I'd love that. Leading up to Civil War, as a matter of fact.
Exactly. There you go. Bada bing, bada boom. But this was a great way to bridge the gap between, the winter finale and the spring premiere. That a lot of things are starting to move towards, which is very annoying.
Yes, absolutely. And so if I'm going to give this a numerical rating, the first one for me that came to mind as soon as I watched this was right around an 8.5 to a 9. Like, I'm just going to go with a solid 9 because it was so strong. There were scenes that you weren't expecting to see that you did see. Heck, Dum Dum Dugan got stabbed by a little kid and wanted to grenade her to death.
Oh, man, I loved that. That was amazing.
Just so much good stuff. And, oh, so good.
Yeah, I would very much agree with you. A 9 out of 10 for this episode. It was amazing. We got everything that we kind of expected to get, and a little bit more. Like, I did not expect it to go that in depth with the Dottie thing, the sleeper agent stuff, and it did. And that was right there at the very beginning. I know it sounds weird and morbid, like a little girl snapping another little girl's neck sold me on the entire episode.
But it does. It set the entire tone for everything else that was going to come. So yeah, it was harsh, but that's just good writing. It's like, how can we get them hooked into this story and understand how dangerous the girls are? We're going to show one snapping another's neck, and that they've been trained to learn English from like movies like Snow White and other things.
Yeah, that was so creepy. And then when Agent Carter found the subliminal messages in the video too, as she went through frame by frame. Oh, that was amazing. It was just
so good. Can't say enough good things. So, Mike, did you give your numerical rating?
Yeah,
okay,
9 out of 10. I agree.
9 out of 10. I'm sorry about that.
No, I'll repeat it because it was awesome. It was 9 out of 10. Awesome episode. Can't wait. Like I said, it sucks it's going to end, but why not?
Yeah, no apologies there because, once again, another quick little news note. We brought up Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. will be coming back here in just a few short weeks, as a matter of fact. Something important to note is that Marvel came out and announced they have cast another Inhuman for this show, and it's going to be one that's very important to Skye, as we've seen a lot of the previews. She's trying to deal with this power that she doesn't understand. And so we get Luke Mitchell is going to be joining. They haven't given his character a name. They just said, you know what, he's going to be an Inhuman, and he's going to be huge to helping Skye understand her origins. And I believe he's going to be in the first episode of, the second half of the season, which is Tuesday, March 3rd, at its normal time. So awesome things to look forward to with more Inhumans popping up.
Yep. The Inhumans is going to be a big thing going forward for Marvel, as not only with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but obviously we've talked about it before. They're getting into the film universe, so there you go.
Yep, they're fleshing them out before they're ever going to be on the big screen. It's like, hey, if you're missing out on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., you just jump on it now. Just go on to watch ABC or Hulu. get the last 5 episodes so you kind of know what's going on, and then start watching the second half of the season. You can cheat, like do what you need to do, because you cannot miss this Inhuman storyline. It's going to be so good.
Yeah, and integral to what's going on in the next 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, in the Marvel Universe. You might want to start paying attention. Speaking of things to pay attention to based on what's or another, comics, Mike, we always like to talk about what we read. I know that you just read Future's End number 40, so we'll start with that. How was that?
Yeah, I went and picked up Future's End number 40 among a couple other things that I'll get to once I'm done reviewing this. But after a few dull weeks in Future's End where we just kind of everybody's kind of bopping around, there was just a lot of nonsense going on. This week, number 40, we get some big-time stuff that we're going to see. Brainiac comes. Constantine summons a wild pig to eat Brainiac's corn children that were from the last couple issues.
Oh, that's fantastic.
It was weird.
That's weird.
But, I mean, it's Constantine. What are you going to do, man? Constantine's out there. Batman and Tim Drake have kind of reunited to try and take out Brother Eye before it gets too crazy. And we got the return of Kal-El, the actual Superman, and not Shazam, posing as Superman with a mask on. So that book is huge this week. Obviously, it's coming down to its last 10 to 12 issues as it winds down towards its full year run and DC's new event. But man, it was strong. I thought it was strong this week as compared to the last few weeks where I said it was kind of garbage.
Hey, well, that's just kind of been the thing with Future's End from what I understand. Like I said every week, there seems to be one or two good issues, and it's almost one of those things where you can just read the synopsis when it's done. You don't even need to read the whole series to understand what's going on. But what else did you read, Mike, other than Future's End number 40?
So, read Future's End. I also talked about how I picked up the Kevin Smith book, The Widening Gyre.
Oh, wow, yeah, you mentioned that.
I read it this week. Or I read it, since the last episode. Oh, man. This is just a greatly written Batman book. It's very much a Batman kind of love story, but the way that it just is kind of fleshed out, where we get this guy that's Bruce sees kind of helping him randomly. He's like, who's this new costumed guy that's helping me out? His name's Bahamut. He goes into this story about his little brother who's been killed by supervillains and all this, and he reveals his secret identity to Bruce Wayne really quickly, which kind of freaks him out. But there's that whole thing going on. Silver St. Cloud, one of Bruce's former love interests, has come back into his life.
Oh, wow.
And they're kind of rekindling a romance throughout the whole issue. While Bruce is kind of beating things up. So during the day, he's out with her on private islands and stuff. Then he comes home and he's Batman doing Batman things with this guy Bahamut. And then he finally reveals, that Batman gets engaged to Silver St. Cloud, reveals to Bahamut that he's Bruce Wayne. Bahamut then takes his masks off and reveals himself to be Onomatopoeia and kills Silver St. Cloud right in the middle of the Batcave. That's how the book ends, with him slitting Silver St. Cloud's throat.
Oh my gosh. That's brutal.
What an ending. Just the way it was built up, you see it, the second to last page they're in Arkham Asylum, and the Joker looks up at the guy in the Bahamut mask, and he takes his mask off, and Joker looks at him, and Joker smiles, and then they leave Arkham, and I was like, what the hell? And then that's as it all jumps out, and it's, oh man. It was drawn great because Walter Flanagan's great. Kevin Smith's an awesome writer, obviously, in my opinion. He has so many, you don't make a bunch of movies and not be that good of a writer. So if you're into Kevin Smith and you like Batman, go check it out. If you like Batman, go check it out. If you just like Kevin Smith and you never read any of his Batman books or his Green Arrow stuff, I believe he did Swamp Thing as well. Go check his stuff out. But that was a great way, kind of, to tie in his first book, Cacophony, to this one. And then it does say in the afterword, that he's working on a third Batman book. But I tried to tweet him and ask him, but he just favorited the tweet and didn't give me a reply.
Hey, that's a win, though. I mean, most people might ignore it, but I like the comic book writers. They tend to be more interactive with their fans because they understand, you know what, heck, if you're actually reading what I'm writing, that's cool.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not the first time that I've had like a Twitter thing with him. But I also picked up this week, and so expect reviews to come in the future, maybe not too near future, one of these books. I have Batman Haunted Knight, which is a continuation of the Long Halloween Dark Victory storyline, and I picked up Watchmen, which is going to be amazing.
Absolutely classic.
Yeah, and then I got a book today, which we'll kind of hold off on reading, and this will be our little segue into the Marvel side. I picked up Black Vortex Alpha, which is starting a crossover storyline between the Guardians of the Galaxy, the X-Men, and I think, who else did I say was involved in this? And Nova.
Yeah, Nova, who's kind of a Guardian of the Galaxy.
Who's technically a Guardian. Yeah, so Captain Marvel, Nova, Cyclops, the all-new X-Men, and Guardians of the Galaxy books will be involved in that. So,
yeah, a Marvel mini. It's a cosmic event, if you will, Marvel cosmic event.
Definitely, much so. It looks crazy. I like the way it's drawn. Some of the new takes on characters that I've known for a while are kind of crazy to me. But as I read through that, we'll see how that turns out.
Yeah, so we'll probably have that in segments or potentially just an entire event review at the end. Possibly like a little special clip that we do to kind of do a summary. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, that's going to run up until the end of April. It looks like right before Marvel's Battle World and stuff start.
Right before the insanity begins of the Battle World. So, you know something, Mike? We mentioned the Marvel. One thing that I did read this week was this excellent piece of literature known as Ant-Man #2. Absolutely fantastic. This Scott Lang book is so well done, so well written, so well drawn. I just love it. Scott Lang goes down to Florida, where he's trying to, start his own security company, but of course he needs a loan of some kind. Just so good. It's so funny. The action scenes are great. He literally tears apart a Nazi robot limb from limb, a gold-making robot nonetheless. So that was pretty interesting. And just so many good things about this book that I just can't rave enough about. The guy's trying to do good. He's continuing to just try to start his life in Florida so he can be where Cassie is, and just definitely setting the stage for the movie with a good, strong comic.
That seems to be what Marvel likes to do. Set up, either with the television show or movie or comic book, set up a nice, strong stance before their movies get released.
Yes, and perfect segue because I also read the prequel comic for Avengers Age of Ultron, the prequel comic #1. I believe it's Avengers Age of Ultron Prelude #1. We get the origins of Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch in that, and that was really important to kind of understand why, how'd they get to where they are. They live, apparently, of course, they're retaining the name Maximoff, which I like. They're still, Pietro and Wanda Maximoff. They live in a European nation called Sokovia, and there's just been a whole lot of stuff going on there. There's been some fallout of some stuff, and they ended up volunteering. Their parents were killed in what we believe to be some kind of fallout from what the Avengers did in New York. They weren't too specific on that. But that was really good, and they're just angry. There's a lot going on. There's not a lot going on good in their town, and so Hydra, of course, has kind of come in, and we kind of find out that Baron von Strucker got the scepter through somebody who he manipulated within S.H.I.E.L.D., of course, and so we see him get the scepter, and he starts experimenting on people because they want to unlock the Tesseract's power and the power of the scepter to see kind of how does it affect people. And ultimately they volunteered, and of course they survived, and it shows the scene from the end of Captain America the Winter Soldier, the end credit scene, with them in their cells. So that was really good. So we understand that they're angry, and they want to take the Avengers down. So that's a heck of a beginning, going into the movie.
Yeah, well, that's a lot of things that people need to know, too. It just it hits all the points, like you said. It's basic information that everybody should know going into the movie if they didn't already have an idea of how these characters were introduced in the comic book form.
Yeah, so like I said, that was one very important thing to have going on there. And so the last thing that I looked at this week was Uncanny X-Men #30. is what I believe. Yes, it was Uncanny X-Men number 30. The mutant's name escapes me because they just really weren't that important until this time. So Charles Xavier's been dead in the Marvel Universe. We know this. He is very dead. His consciousness was in the Red Skull during the entire Axis storyline, but he's dead. Until now, because Brian Michael Bendis decided to have this time-traveling mutant go back in time, kind of manipulate reality, and Charles Xavier, this is a stupid thing, and she was trying to, they were trying to solve some problem, this new X-Men team, and they said, well, I wish we could just ask Charles. He'd know what to do. So the time-traveling mutant goes back to ask Charles. Well, here's the problem with that. He's a telepath. So he's going to know that you came from the future. That's going to screw up all kinds of things within the space-time continuum. And he just basically says, you shouldn't be here, yada, yada, yada. And then eventually they just decide, well, I need to go back to wherever you're from. I need to go with you. So now Charles Xavier isn't dead leading into Battleworld.
Well, and I think that's for the best for the X-Men team.
Yeah, it is. It was just kind of a cop-out. It was such a cheap cop-out to get him back in there before this big event. But other than that, the book itself was kind of garbage. But it was that was okay. They're just so incapable.
It was very Future's End.
Yes. I haven't really been reading this series, but I read a review that you need to read it so you know this twist leading into Battleworld. So I picked it up and I said, well, this book is crap. I love Bendis normally. He does a lot of great things. This was not one of his best works. Other than that, I thought it was okay. But that's really all that I read this week. I didn't get to read a whole lot. Of course, there's not a whole lot that I'm interested in that's going on right now in the comic book world, other than the prequel comics and the Ant-Man comic. And, I want to get into the Star Wars one, but there's only so much you can read within a week.
Yeah, I'm excited. I went to get Star Wars number 2 as well, and it was sold out. So
that's Marvel just making money.
Yeah, next week I'll have Star Wars number 2, Star Wars number 3, I believe, and Darth Vader number 1, as far as Marvel stuff goes.
Yes. So be ready for that, everybody. Awesome. Tons of comic news, though, Mike. We'll stick with Marvel first, and then we'll get to the big DC news here. The first little Marvel news is that, I think it's the only Marvel news, actually. Yeah, it's the only Marvel comic book news, is they're going to be forming an all-female team for Secret Wars called A-Force. It's basically a female Avengers team. Now, I'm really excited about this because the writer from the current Ms. Marvel run that has Kamala Khan, G. Willow Wilson, is going to be writing this book. And the main characters in A-Force are She-Hulk, Medusa, Dazzler, and Nico Minoru.
Oh, Dazzler, come on.
Well, she said her power set is why she has her. It has nothing to do with, a disco. She wanted to get a diverse team. She wanted to get a different mutant than what's been used in the past. And plus, you have to think, a lot of the other main mutant women are probably tied up in other parts of Battleworld. So she had to pick and choose who she could have.
Jubilee.
No more Jubilee.
But I like the idea. I was hoping it would be female Thor, Spider-Gwen.
Yeah, or Silk or someone like that. But they're obviously going to be tied up in other corners.
Anybody else. But She-Hulk is cool.
Yeah, I'm looking at this. I mean, you think about it, you got She-Hulk, who's of course one of the main Avengers. She has been for a while. You have Medusa, who's the queen of the Inhumans. And then you throw in Nico Minoru, the witch from the Runaways, and you just got yourself a powerful female team there, man. I mean, I'm excited about this. I'm going to pick... This is one of the parts of, Secret Wars Battleworld that I'm really looking forward to.
Nico Minoru is funny to me because she can only use every spell that she knows once.
Yup, and she's always got to find new ways to cast her spells.
So, the stuff with the Runaways in Civil War was hilarious, where she was trying to do things, and they were like, really? With these spells?
You took us to an ice planet!
And she's like, yeah.
Yeah, so once again, an amazing dynamic. The Ms. Marvel series with Kamala Khan's just been so good. So, we can't spend too much time on it because there's obviously a lot that we don't know. If you want to know more about it, go check it out. She's done some really good interviews this week previewing those comics for anybody who's interested in more of what A-Force is. We're going to, of course, get a lot more of these little team-ups going on for Battleworld.
And I like that they used a different name. A-Force is cool. It doesn't have anything to be only women. You know what I mean? Like I know that sounds kind of bad, but like it didn't need to be like something with women or some sort of a feminine name, which I think is good too.
It reminds me of like you had the X-Men, and then one of their offshoot Black Ops type teams is the X-Force. And it's just the same thing. So instead, it's like the Avengers Force instead of the X-Men Force. And it doesn't have any kind of gender or any kind of sexism attached to it, which is really good. And I think that that's something, female comics are starting to sell amazing lately. Of course, like you mentioned, Spider-Gwen has been huge. Silk has been selling really well. The Thor book has been selling amazing. The Princess Leia comic that's coming out soon is already sold out from pre-order. You can't even pre-order the book anymore, from what I understand.
They were legit trying to push me on that. Because they must have ordered a lot of them at my local comic book store, because they asked everybody that walked in that said anything about Star Wars.
Yeah,
you want the Princess Leia book? Because if you don't put it on a pre-order now, you're not going to get it.
Yeah, that's pretty much true. That has been true nationwide. That is not false. That is a thing.
And there's also like a rumor, I guess the kid at the store was telling me today, that there might be a crossover between the Leia book and the Darth Vader book too. So,
well, I wouldn't be surprised if all those books kind of blended in together at some point.
Yeah, this is true. But I mean, and the Leia thing's only a 5-part series, so.
Okay, well there you go. Then if it releases, every couple months leading up to the movie, there you go. There's your Princess Leia comic. If there's even any connection there. But, kind of to get away from the Marvel side of things, Mike, DC Comics decided to break the internet. Again. By breaking their entire universe yet again. They are not rebooting, but they are ending the New 52 in June.
Now the way that you first told me that when you said they were ending the New 52, I was like, what? They're just going to stop all the books and like a full reboot?
Yeah, thankfully no.
It's not going that way, which is good. But I mean, and I've been hinting to it. Obviously, books like Future's End are going to end. And we've said it before, we did go through the cancellations that DC's going to have leading up to their new line. Obviously, we thought it was going to be just the events. They were going to... What was it, the Convergence or whatever?
Yep, Convergence is going to be the big thing that's going to really trigger all of this and kind of help make that possible.
Yeah, so we were looking at what books they were going to cancel leading up to the beginning of Convergence, say around... And I wouldn't be surprised if they started Convergence, say, on New Comic Book or Free Comic Book Day in May, because that's when they started the new that's when they started Future's End.
Yeah, it's funny that you bring that up, because actually they aren't going to have Convergence starting that day. They're releasing a comic called Divergence that day. They've already released it. They've already got it out. We already know what it's going to look like, and it's going to be on May 2nd.
Okay, so that's going to be before Free Comic Book Day, but. That's good, though, because I know that they, like I just said, Future's End issue 0 was, Free Comic Book Day this past year, and that's how I got started on that series. But it's smart on their part. They're going to end the books that aren't good, or aren't selling well, I should say aren't good, but they're going to end the books that aren't selling as well, and that won't tie into what they're going to do moving forward.
Yeah, and it's actually looking like that is going to be Free Comic Book Day. Free Comic Book Day is the first Saturday of May, and May 2nd is apparently the first Saturday. I wanted to double check that before saying anything, so it looks like that's true. That's good. So there's your Free Comic Book Day.
You know what I just screwed up? I was thinking of since we've been talking about Star Wars for like the last 5 minutes. May the 4th be with you. I thought that was Free Comic Book Day.
That'd be too perfect. Yeah. that would be too good, Mike. Only in a world that is not this one are such things possible.
Some people pray for, nice weather. Other guys pray for Free Comic Book Day to fall on Star Wars Day. And then...
Yes. And so this all is going to relaunch after the end of April, and Convergence is going to happen right after Divergence, however all that's going to work. Brainiac is going to be doing his, big, devastating, grand experiment, and so that's going to trigger all that. Like we said, we're not going to list off all the comics that are staying around him. Mike's been reading Deathstroke, and he's been reading New Suicide Squad, so obviously those are the two of the ones that we're very pleased are not getting cut from this. But their whole theory is that they're going to focus on storytelling instead of continuity. Almost like, okay, we want to pay attention to the old stuff, but we need to just get everybody on the same playing field here, old 52, new 52, and just start telling stories again. And I'm like, you know what? This could work. and I'm optimistic about it. It's, like you said, the New 52 hasn't even been around that long, and they're already kind of reshaping things. Like the label, the New 52, is gone after this. So DC making steps that I think are going to be for the better ultimately, but right now it just sounds really confusing.
Yeah, and like the line you just said, ignoring story or ignoring continuity to stick to get to storytelling. Like, I feel like storytelling and continuity kind of go hand in hand. If something
that's what was weird with me, but I think I need to see where they're going first before I judge.
Just based on the statement, like something that isn't, like people go through movies and watch movies to see what doesn't match up and be like, there are these continuity problems with this story, or we've mentioned a lot of things like in the past with Gotham or Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or Agent Carter, where like there are things that are like weird that don't seem like they add up and should have this solution.
Right, which is exactly why Agent Carter has had to be so careful, because if they do something too dramatic at that time, it could potentially alter what's happened in the future and not make much sense. Yeah,
so continuity and storytelling, I think, go hand in hand, but we'll see where DC goes with that. I have confidence in Jim Lee.
Yes, and Dan DiDio is the guy who is giving all this, all the press release stuff, so we'll see where DC goes. Like we said, be sure to check it out if you want more info on that. I mean, that's about the best we can give you right now. There's a lot that we don't know, other than that there's going to be some big stuff going on in the Justice League stuff. Justice League is going to be written by Jeff Johns in this new run. You're going to get a lot of good books coming out of this. But the big one that I'm excited for, Mike, is, of course, Batman Beyond, the new Batman Beyond book. I think Batman Beyond, just growing up with it, was so cool. I love the character, and I'm excited for that. And, of course, the new Justice League of America by Brian Hitch is going to be, sounds like it should be pretty awesome.
Yeah, anything written by Jeff Johns in DC is going to be pretty good, and anything written by Jeff Johns, period, is always a good pickup. Terry McGinnis is a cool character to have in Batman Beyond. I did always like the cartoon, as well as what I've seen from when they have the character in Future's End is always fun.
Yes, and just one other important note for our, podcast sake, Batman by Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo is going to be continuing. That's one of the ones that is, of course, is continuing. It's Batman.
There's no way. Those two guys together with Batman, they should stay on as long as DC will pay them to do it. Like, there's no, if DC doesn't want to pay them anymore, they should stop and see if they could try and buy Batman from DC with the boatloads of money they have to be making to write it.
Yeah, absolutely. And, of course, there's a couple other ones I wanted to make quick note of. Black Canary's getting her own book, and they're doing another Constantine book. Of course, these are two people who have been heavily featured in either Constantine's own TV series, Constantine, or Black Canary in the Arrow show. And I don't think she's appeared in The Flash yet, but those are two ones that I'm not entirely surprised to be seeing getting books.
Yeah, and Black Canary and Constantine stuff. I feel like it's going to start moving towards, if Constantine continues to do well, I think we might eventually see Zatanna and all the Justice League Dark people.
Yeah, Zatanna, I believe, has already been in, Katana. Katana's a different DC character. She's been in Arrow, I believe, already, and The Flash, and different weird things like that. But yeah, Zatanna, I like the Hellblazers. I like those characters. I think that they're interesting. I don't support dark arts in any way or anything like that. I just think it's a cool concept to write. Like, as a writer, I think I'd have a lot of fun with that because there's a lot you can do.
Yeah, well, I mean, and there's a lot of it in Future's End with Frankenstein and Lady Amethyst and Constantine, obviously, like I mentioned earlier. So you did get a little bit of Justice League Dark in there for a couple issues. But I'd like to see it going forward.
Yeah, so... we're just going to continue to talk about this as it gets closer to the big convergence, the big battle world, all this stuff, Marvel, DC. We're looking forward to it, and it's going to be great. So a couple little more news points before we are done here today, Mike. We're going to start off with a section called Netflix News. The first little piece of news that just came out, I believe, yesterday. Netflix is working on developing a live-action Legend of Zelda series.
That would... be absolutely amazing.
This is a thing. This isn't even just a rumor. Netflix has straight up come out and said, yeah, we're working on this. This is going to be a thing. I mean, I don't even... I'm trying to picture how this would even work.
Well, if they partnered up with Nintendo in any way, I think they could do a really, really good job with this. I do remember when I was younger, there was a television show, the Super Mario Brothers Super Show,
Oh
that
gosh, yes.
No, don't. That show is amazing. But it had like Captain Lou Albano, a former wrestler, playing Super Mario and stuff like that. It was cool. I'd like to see stuff like that. Like if they could do that in Hyrule with Zelda, obviously not make it all jokey and cartoony, where like the human parts do stupid things, and then all of a sudden it cuts to like a Super Mario Brothers cartoon for 15 minutes. I'd like to see like a full-on live action. Now, there's always the flip side to this. The Mario Brothers movie that came out in like 1995, which was absolutely god-awful, but a cult classic.
Terrible. It was absolutely
I loved
terrible.
it, but it was not a great movie.
Yes. And so,
Mike, I didn't even want to tell you that before the show because I wanted to get your initial reaction, because my initial reaction was, if that works, that's awesome. I'm glad I'm a Netflix subscriber. Just like I'm glad I'm a Netflix subscriber because of what's coming out on your birthday, Mike.
Yes.
Daredevil. We got our first look. We got a teaser trailer. Marvel released it this week, and we both watched it now. What are your thoughts on it? We'll do our little breakdowns like we always do, kind of, part by part of the trailer. But just initial thoughts, man, on Daredevil.
Finally getting to see Matt Murdock in the suit that they have for him, the black ninja suit.
Yep, the first suit that he's getting.
Was awesome. You don't see a lot of fighting, but you see him put it on. You do see a little bit of him with his, what are the sticks there? I can't remember what exactly
the nunchuck. He has nunchucks, but they're, oh shoot, I'm drawing a blank on them too now. This is terrible. I'm the Marvel guy.
But, I mean, he's hitting the people. He's doing a couple things. We get to see the back of Kingpin. You know what I mean? You just see him kind of standing there. You don't get to see his face, but you see he's a big bald guy. Awesome. Just the whole thing of him, you get to see the civilian side of him too. He's walking around in his suit. You see, I think there's a shot or two of him in the courtroom. There's definitely a shot of him in an office somewhere. So you can see there's that one piece of the trailer where he's kind of just standing there listening, and he hears the guy talking like, I'd say probably about 150 feet away, as he's getting put into the back of like a police car or a car of some sort. So you get to see that, he has his Daredevil senses, not just, it's just some blind guy.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, I'm trying to find the name of his little weapons because it's bothering me that I can't think of what they're called at the moment. Shoot. Anyways, so moving on from that, just goes to show people, sometimes you forget things. Sometimes the brain don't work quite like it used to. So just gonna go through it here, Mike. It opens up with him talking to the Catholic priest. He's walking into the church. And this is big. This is a big part of Daredevil's origin. He's incredibly Catholic, usually conflicted about the things that he's doing, not in the idea of justice, but just in the sense that, okay, I know I shouldn't be doing this, but I need to help my town, like my neighborhood. And the thing for me is, it really just put it right into perspective right off the bat that this is not a world-saving hero. He's just trying to save Hell's Kitchen. He's trying to stop, drugs from going on. That's something that we saw definitely in this trailer, was that, like you said, you see he's beat up. Like, he's clearly not your Iron Man or anybody. Nobody's there to help him. They kind of show that blurred vision where he's just obviously, it kind of is trying to give an idea of how he can sense the world without actually seeing it. He sees the world differently than we do. But I like those shots where it kind of showed the drugs being, put into place. It almost kind of, this to me is very much going to be Marvel's Batman series, if you think about it that way.
You can look at it. They call it a billy club, his stick.
The billy clubs.
It's a billy club that could also be used as a Maritskigari, Rikigusari, a long chain or rope weapon, and then something else. But it's the two clubs that could also be used as like his.
Yeah, there's his walking stick, and I think the first movie, the unfortunate movie, did kind of touch on that the billy clubs can be made into Manrikasari is how I believe. Manrikasari, that's how I think it's pronounced. A long rope or chain weapon with two weights on its ends, yeah. So, anyways, but just moving on from that, we see the drugs being put, so it definitely shows, okay, he's going to be fighting drug things, which obviously is going to connect to the Kingpin. The big thing for me that I also enjoyed was we got to see a couple different characters in this as well. So we see, this is really dark. Somebody was murdered in this, clearly. Like you said, you get that shot of the Kingpin, where it's like, yep, this guy's behind all this, he's behind the murders, he's behind the drugs, without really throwing it in your face.
Yeah, you see, he has the cufflinks. You just see that he's like this big time thing, but you don't really see who it is or exactly what he is. But for those of us that know, like the Kingpin and the term Kingpin, like he's obviously in charge.
Yeah, and I have to say, Vincent D'Onofrio completely pulls it off for me. He looked absolutely amazing. We also get Daredevil's mentor in this, because we could see another blind person with the elevator doors shutting on him, Stick. And this is huge. Stick was not really a part of the movies at all, and he's only in a few episodes from what I understand, but this is going to be pretty awesome to see Daredevil get mentored here.
Yeah, somebody's got to teach him how to fight blind. You don't just learn that. It doesn't just happen. Even if you have, the heightened sense of hearing and stuff to where it almost works as like a de facto sonar radar. But you don't just learn how to fight based on what you can see.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have to be trained somewhere.
Yeah, we saw Deborah Ann Wool's character, Karen Page. The way that they shot it, it looks like she's in some kind of interrogation, or not interrogation so much, but more of like a consultation with Foggy Nelson, played by Eldon Henson, who's, of course, Daredevil's Matt Murdock's partner in his law firm of Nelson and Murdock. So I thought that was a really powerful scene where they had to, Karen Page over the dead body. We're not sure if she was the one who wielded the knife. I'm guessing not. A lot of really good shots in this, just a really good teaser. Of course, we've mentioned Marvel's kind of mastered the teaser. We got a shot of Rosario Dawson's character, Claire Temple. We're still not sure what kind of role she's going to be playing in this. But it's interesting because Daredevil, I loved it. Like you said, we saw the suit, but he said, "I'm not here to ask for forgiveness." And I just said, okay. Like, I love the scene of him just kind of walking down the hall in that black suit. Just, so powerful.
Yeah, it looks great too. It's just definitely such a darker, I think you said it already, just a darker Marvel thing, and it needs to be because, like you've said it for weeks, the street level heroes tend to do a little bit more day-to-day stuff, and just get their hands dirty like crazy. So like when we get the Luke Cage and the Iron Fist and Jessica Jones. Yeah, Jessica Jones is coming next, and the one shot in here that I also really liked was kind of near the end of it. It's a blink and you'll miss it, where he turns around and Kingpin is kind of behind him. If you're watching the YouTube video, it'll be up. You'll be able to see it right now, where Kingpin's walking towards him, and I'm like, okay, that's going to be a great encounter. And you just get this idea of this guy is. He's going to get beat up. Like, he's not going to be successful. The last shot of the trailer, from what I can tell, is him sitting in a pool of his own blood. Like, in the rain, but it looks like he's been bloodied up a little bit. Yeah, I was say it looks like he was down, he got punched, something happened, he got beat up a little bit and landed in like a puddle. But as he's getting up from that puddle, you can see the blood dripping out of his mouth, like his lip or a tooth or something has been busted open. And he just kind of got blood. It was a very powerful way to end the teaser trailer. Yeah,
like we said, absolutely. Tons of great things to look forward to about this Daredevil series. Mike may binge watch the entire thing on his birthday. It could conceivably happen if he had the time. If he was able.
Yeah. Don't be surprised if I have watched all 13 episodes over a 13-hour time span.
Oh, yeah. I probably won't be able to do that, but I will certainly probably watch the entire thing within a week, and then I'll go back and rewatch it and analyze it, watch it for the first time through for enjoyment, and then really get into the Easter eggs and the things of that nature. So just a couple real other quick things of news. Mike, I don't know if you heard about this, but this could mean great things for the Marvel Universe as we've been talking about the cinematic universe. Amy Pascal has resigned as the head of Sony's movie division.
Wow. That is huge news. I don't know how that really would have, like, fully, like, affects things, but it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, well, let's just think about this. We heard that the Spidey Summit was supposed to take place in January. Well, January's come and gone. We didn't hear anything, but that doesn't mean that nothing happened. It just means this was probably literally an in-house Spider Summit of what are we going to do with this character. This news just came down on Thursday, and she's, of course, the co-chairman of things, and she's going to launch some new production thing. The cyber attack really revealed how crappy of a CEO, or how crappy of a chairman she was for this. And Sony's had a couple really bad flops, and namely Spider-Man, The Amazing Spider-Man 2 was not that great. And it's interesting. Of course, they aren't blaming the cyber attack on her, but I mean, let's just think about this. They have no idea what to do with Spider-Man at all whatsoever. She's just, clearly they don't know what they're doing. There's just a ton of stuff that they need to do. But for me, Mike, the first thing that comes to my mind is there's going to be some negotiations with Marvel that she's not going to be a part of, and I'm totally okay with that.
Yeah, that could be very, 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 very good.
Like, whoever the new person in charge is, obviously they have to figure out what are you going to do with Spider-Man. Like, that's our main guy. How are we going to take care of this? So that's huge. You know, obviously not a lot to say about that right now, but whoever the new chairman is, I expect to hear about some Marvel negotiations, or at least I hope so. Or at least, this is the thing. Obviously, I've said it all along. If they're going to keep Spider-Man in-house and not cross him over with Marvel, you better give me something new at some point, because I'm sick of these same old Peter Parker stories.
Ugh. And stop ruining characters like Venom or
Lizard or Electro. Yeah, just awful stuff. And then the last thing, Mike, the Teen Titans TV series, we kind of mentioned it before. We weren't really sure it was going to happen. Like, we'd heard that it had been greenlit. We had heard that there was going to be some pilots coming out, a pilot coming soon for it. Well, it's official, and they have officially announced who their team is going to be for the Teen Titans on this TV show that's going to be on TNT. Are you ready, Mike?
Yes.
It's going to start off with Dick Grayson as Robin having a falling out with Batman, and he's going to be Robin throughout the entire pilot. The team is not going to be formed yet, and he's going to become Nightwing at the end of the pilot.
Okay.
So you get that, and then here's your next young generation of superheroes. Barbara Gordon as Oracle, and then you're going to get Hawk and Dove, Starfire, and Raven.
All right, Starfire and Raven, I like. Oracle now, are they going with the Barbara? This is the question for that. Are they going with the Barbara Gordon is crippled because of the Joker story, where she has to be Oracle and sit in a computer room because she can't physically do anything, or she's doing it by choice? From what it's sounding like, she's going to be wheelchair bound. Okay.
So it's looking like it's going to be the fallout of the Joker.
Okay. That's good, then.
So that's pretty interesting. Hawk and Dove, I think, are an interesting choice. Those are two names that I had to look them up. I had no clue who that was. Like, Raven, I mean, okay, I've heard of Rachel Roth. Like, I have a general idea of who that is. Starfire, once again, another pretty familiar character for me. They were just ones that I'm like, what? Like, they're post-crisis on Infinite, the
Infinite Earth people?
Yeah, on Infinite Earth people. And I'm just like, I don't even, okay, whatever. Like, it's TNT. I don't watch TNT, so cool. So just real quick, Mike, obviously, once again, we haven't seen a pilot for this. We really don't know what to expect, but just what are your thoughts on that? Like, I know that you're not the biggest Dick Grayson Nightwing fan of sorts, but, just what are your thoughts on this series? Does it even sound good to you, or does it just sound like, well, they're trying to do something different than what DC TV is already doing?
I don't know who Hawk and Dove are. Like,
oh, man. Well, whoever wrote the show might be a super fan. If they're putting someone like that in, that might actually be a good thing.
If they were going to go with the Teen Titans that I know are Robin, Cyborg, Beast Boy, Starfire, and Raven. I know those 5.
Cyborg, I can understand where they would leave him out because he's expected to be in the movies. But Beast Boy, even I know that Beast Boy is a mainstay of the Teen Titans. Like, where is he? Like, or are you going to introduce him later on down the line? Like, how's this all going to work? It's just, it was a weird. It's weird. I don't really even know what to think about it at this point.
It's just a whole a thing. Is a thing. I get my if I want to watch Teen Titans, I put on Cartoon Network and I watch Teen Titans Go because it's funny, and then they still beat up Hive, so it is what it is.
Yes, not to be confused with the Hive on Destiny.
Yeah, the Hive is a H.I.V.E.
Right.
Like
yes.
An acronym.
Just for the unknown, we wanted to just disambiguation that for you.
But it's. I don't know, maybe I'll watch the pilot. I don't know. Dick Grayson's a weird thing. I do kind of want to check out the new Dick Grayson book that they've had for a few months now where he has like a gun, so I don't know what's going on. But we'll see.
Alrighty, so I think that's really it for the news and notes this week, Mike. You got anything you want to rant on other than, of course, we always want to remind everybody that Lootcrate link is in the description to this video, and if you are interested in Lootcrate, definitely sign up. You can help Mike out, and you can, sign up for what's been pretty good for Mike since he's gotten it.
Yeah, it's been awesome. So this month, February's theme is play, or press play, it says. So it's a board game theme. So video, from tabletop to video, board games and card games, RPGs, desk toys, and more. They put together a nice little crate that celebrates the endless levels of adventure, creativity, and excitement that great gaming can bring. So it looks like we're going to get this month, if you sign up by, I think, the 19th of February, you will receive an exclusive Loot Crate edition of a popular tabletop title. So, speculation begins. What's a popular tabletop game? Is it going to be something that's extremely, quote-unquote nerdy, like a Dungeons and Dragons or something like that? Or is it going to be like a more of a famous board game that people play with their family?
Yeah, Chutes and Ladders coming at you from Loot Crate.
Yeah, well, or like an exclusive edition of Monopoly, or maybe it's Guess Who, something along those lines.
Yeah, Guess Who, Candyland, Clue. A Loot Crate edition of Clue.
That would be cool. And you get another exclusive vinyl figure. This time it's from Kid Robot. They do some cool stuff. So, hook it up. And then, like I always say, use our link, sign up. We get the $5 off thing. And then you yourself will get your own little link like that you can share and see and stuff with your friends. So, take the time, take a look at it. I do believe the October and November crates are still available for sale on the Loot Crate website. And if you order your Loot Crate for February, you have a chance to win the Mega Crate. The Mega Crate this month includes an Oculus Rift 3D gaming development kit.
Oh my gosh.
A quadcopter, a DJI Phantom 2 Vision quadcopter, which is a giant helicopter camera for $800. The Oculus Rift thing is worth $350. Then you get 3 Lego Minecraft things. And then the big ticket, the big money item, if $800 isn't enough for you, you'll win a Dremel 3D printer.
Oh wow. I don't even know what I would do with such things, but I would love to have them. Simply for the sake of having them. Yeah, so it's like a $2,500 to $3,000 value of stuff that you can get it just by signing up for Loot Crate, even if it's just for the month. So you got that to look forward to. Yes, definitely look into that. And I don't think I have anything to rant on this week, Mike, but I do want to say I'm looking forward to the movie that's coming out this week, The Kingsman: The Secret Service. It's based on a Mark Millar comic that's not even actually that old. It's he did a little comic series involving them, and the cast is amazing. I think it looks like it's well done, and Matthew Vaughn directed it, the director of X-Men First Class. So it looks like it's going to be funny. It looks like it's going to be great. It's rated R, so if you're under the age of 17, you have to take a parent with you. But it's not R for anything that's like you'd feel uncomfortable being in a movie theater with your parents for. There's violence. It's R-rated violence. It's a hard R violence film. There's some sexual content. So obviously, depending on where you stand on the judgment scale of what you think is okay, obviously you could do more research into it. We're not sure where you stand morality-wise. I know I go to R-rated movies and I just kind of have to say, okay, is this one of those like raunchy R-rated movies? Because those to me are just pointless to spend money on to see in theaters. But if it's R just because of like violence, I can handle that. I've seen some violence in my life. I can deal with it.
Well, let's not forget that if it's an R-rated movie and Samuel L. Jackson's in it, there's going to be a bunch of language.
There's going to be some F-bombs. Like, that's ultimately, that'll get you an R rating on its own. So, like you said, if you can deal with that kind of thing, then totally check it out. So I'm looking forward to that. Probably won't have a review on here since it's not like a famous comic book storyline or anything like that, and it's not really tied to any sort of direct comic, but it did come out of a comic book series, and Mark Millar is, of course, a famous comic book writer, so looking forward to it. Looking forward to Matthew Vaughn. Haven't seen a bad movie of his ever, so I think that's about it, man. The Left Shark. Left Shark, very topical title for our episode this week, man. I think this week though we were more of the right shark. I think we were right on track. I think we were right in rhythm with everything that happened, and we didn't stick out. And we are not an internet meme sensation yet, thankfully.
Just left sharking it up.
Yeah, we're left sharking it up. I just still can't get over that. So we appreciate you all always joining us. If you made it this far, I know we went a little bit longer than we normally do. We try to keep it around an hour, but there was just so much to talk about. We wanted to make sure y'all got the news, y'all got the information, where the comics tie into the stuff on the TV, on the movies. We hit everything this week, man. It was a great show.
It was. Come back and see us again.
Yes, and follow us on Twitter, follow us on YouTube, on our Twitch channels. Be sure to follow, subscribe. Like we said, for every follower, for every subscription we get on those things, we always appreciate it. Each and every one of you matter to us. So thank you again for joining us here on the Mad Nerds podcast with Mike and Dave. We love you all. God bless you all. Hello to the NSA guy. As always, we appreciate you too, NSA guy. We are out.